Hey, I'm Kristin.
And I'm Ashley.
And this is 1,000 Miles of True Crime. We're going to catch up a bit here. I want to see what your week's been like, Ashley. What have you been up to this past week?
Not too much, but on Sunday, somebody broke into my car and I think they were sitting there for a while actually, because I went into the back seat. I was looking for bottles actually for my son, and right away I noticed this smell, it smelled like a strawberry vape or something. And I was like, what is that? And I look in the front seat and there's paperwork everywhere. Someone went all through my console and my, just basically everything. And I'm looking and I don't have anything in my car worth value. It looks like nothing's taken, but I realized they took the garage door opener.
That is so messed up.
Yeah.
What did you do? What did you do?
I mean, at first I freaked out and I was really creeped out because that was all they took. And I was like, someone in my house last night. I was really creeped out and I felt violated, and then calmed down and I YouTubed how to reset the garage opener and everything. But all week I've just had a weird feeling. I got my car clean, everything, just trying to get that feeling of a stranger touched all my stuff. But I've definitely been on high alert.
Man, that's total violation right there. I actually have a neighbor. I don't know her personally, but she posted in our neighborhood Facebook page that back in April, our cars got beat down by a hailstorm. And so everyone's car got taken to these hail shops in the area. And basically when you do this, when you take your car and you drop it off to have some work done, you don't think I should probably grab my garage door opener. I didn't grab mine when I took my car in, and she didn't either. Well, a few weeks after she dropped her car off, someone broke into her house through her garage. And I mean, it can only be obviously it's someone from this hail repair shop, but basically she wasn't home and she saw her garage door open. She saw an individual go into her garage and was in her house with her elderly mother for 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yes. Can you imagine? That's so, I would flip out. So
I'd have to move, right?
Absolutely. She was so mad. She was I don't know what the outcome was. If she found out who really did it or whatever, but just the video in itself, the guy had on a hat, so you couldn't see his face, but it's had me so hypersensitive about locking my car doors, making sure my doors are locked, before I go to bed. Our cameras are set to armed before we go to bed. So and then to researching for our podcast, I've been on high alert as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Listening to true crime 24/7 does make you every noise. You're that's it. They're breaking in. Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, I mean, the outcome for your car, everything's okay. Your garage code has changed and everything. So you're safe. I'm glad nothing of value was really taken. And, I feel secure that you're in safe hands.
Yeah. I mean, I really shouldn't even complain. It was an inconvenience, and I got to organize my car a little more, my glove compartment. But it does if someone broke into my house, I've been there before. It's just, it gives you the creeps, and it's, but I'm getting back to normal.
Well, now I'm going to jump into our case today that I'm going to be covering. A father murders his 2 daughters, and it's pretty sad. But I chose this case because it's really close to where I live, and I've driven past and even seen the hospitals where the girls were taken. So I'm just going to really just jump into it.
I'm excited. I don't know much about this case.
Well, just to give you some backstory, it's about 2 girls, Amina and Sarah Said. And before that, they endured abuse in every sense that you can imagine, from sexual to emotional to physical, what they experienced in their short lives, and then to have their fathers take their lives. I based my research primarily off of an Amazon documentary called The Price of Honor. So it's on Amazon if you want to check it out. basically it delves into their childhood up into where their father murders them and then leads into the aftermath. Fortunately, not to be like a spoiler, but their father has been captured. So that's the upside to this. But a monster is behind bars for what he did to his own flesh and blood. So to take it back a bit, I want to tell you first about Amina and Sarah Said's parents. So Yasser Said is their father. He's a Muslim who came from Egypt, and he was living in North Texas. That's basically where I'm at, on a student visa back in the 80s. He came to the U.S. from Egypt, I assume, to get a better life or whatnot. He was the oldest in his family. He had like 5 brothers and a sister. And his family actually owned a corner store in their Texas suburb. So that's pretty much the backstory on who the monster of the story is. Patricia Owens, she was their mother, and she lived in North Texas as well. She had a pretty poor upbringing, strained living situation, apparently. Her family was poor. There were actually even accounts that her father was like physically abusive to her. So when she met the Said family, she was just like, this is my way out. Like, this is how I'm getting out.
Like she was ready to take any road she could.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was like, this is an out. Like I have to take it. The problem with that though is that she was basically a child herself. So
how old is she?
14 years old. And Yasser at this time is 15 years older than her. So
15 years older. She's not even 15.
No. I
More
mean,
than twice her age.
Think about your 14-year-old self and dating someone 15 years older than you. Like, I just can't put 2 and 2 together. And I know it's a different time, but still, like, there's just one, like, your parents aren't going to allow that, right? Like, who's going to say it's okay, for you to date this much older man? Like, I don't know, it was madness. So
it's also not the 1800s. I mean, like, she's 14. That's
I know. Fine. It's insane. So she started actually a relationship with Yasser. Before she was dating Yasser, she was actually dating his younger brother. So that also complicates things too. It's like, okay, well, this one didn't work out. This wasn't my scapegoat. So we're going to try this guy, which even more messed up. But so mind you, Yasser's older, right? 15 years older. And they decide they want to get married because why not? That's a great idea, right? This guy's here, not permanently. So clearly they both were looking for an escape situation. Patricia was looking to escape her situation at home, and Yasser was probably in need of a green card or something, looking for citizenship in the U.S. So like any of these sob stories go, Yasser promised Patricia and her family that she would be well taken care of, that his family had money and all these other promises that, like, you would never allow your 15-year-old daughter to get married. But I guess some of Patricia's family members, they weren't on board with it. Like, her sisters were like, yo, like, this probably is not a good idea. But her parents signed off on it, and so they were to be wed. So a 30-year-old man marries a 14-year-old woman in 1987.
Not woman, girl. Child.
There was matrimonial bliss, right? Because anyone getting married, they had their honeymoon phase. But in less than a year, that like deteriorated. It's like physical abuse, sexual abuse, all that Yasser is now inflicting upon Patricia. Like,
well, can I even understand, like, I'm thinking about my life as a 14-year-old. So, like, what was she doing at 14? Like, what is your life as a married woman at 14? Was she going to school? Like, or was she, like, at home cooking and cleaning? Like, I'm just trying to understand what your role is as a 14-year-old bride.
What else could it be, right? Like, I just don't see how a 30-year-old man, what interest he has in a child like that much younger than him, other than sex. I mean, granted, yeah, green card, sure, but 15 years younger, a child, a minor, someone that you had to get like approval to marry because legally it was not something that was okay. They did it after their 1 year or less than a year of matrimonial bliss. You know, Yasser started to hit her and terrorize her basically. And she's a child. So it's like she's left her family. She has nowhere to go. She probably felt trapped. And he was like a predator. Like he kept her as his prisoner, basically. I do feel, and like if you watch the documentary, you'll see like she was all over the place. Like she was totally anti her husband, like said he was psycho and all this other stuff, and that she feared him, to the complete opposite, saying that he would never harm anybody, that he was a good father. But it's like, come on now. He married you when you were 14 years old. Don't marry someone 15 years older than you. It's not recommended. I mean, could you allow it? Could you do it? No.
No, I mean, no, I just didn't even have an interest in getting married at 14. Like, I just couldn't even imagine how that conversation, how were you talking to a 30-year-old? Like, even that, I just don't understand how that happens. But I mean, I do get that it happens. And I'm sure she felt trapped. Her parents like signed off on it. They were like, go ahead, make our lives easier, go over there.
Yasser and Patricia, shortly after they were wed, decided they wanted to start a family. And so they had kids back to back. So you're 14, you're literally a kid yourself, and you have kids back to back. Not one, not two, but three. Yes, I said three. They had a son in 1988. They had a daughter, Amina, in 1989, and their youngest daughter, Sarah, was born in 1990. So a child, right? Married at 15, mother of three by the time she was 18. I'm a mom. You're a mom. You get it. You know what it's like. No. As you probably could have guessed, Yasser obviously abused Patricia. That was admitted. Well, he also, in turn, abused his children. In this documentary, there's some family like home videos that, you know, they appear to display some normalcy, right? Like, you know, kids playing at the park, family home videos of like holidays and things like that. Amina and Sarah are playing at the playground and taking walks, and, you know, everything looks normal and they're all smiles. But beneath those smiles, I'm sure that, you know, there's some terror behind there. So in 1998, it's documented that Amina and Sarah reported sexual abuse and assault by the hands of their father. They told their aunt, Patricia's sisters, you know, our dad's been touching us and being inappropriate with us. They did that on a visit while they were visiting their aunts. And they claimed that it happened numerous times. And they told their aunts that they were terrified of their father as well as his brothers. Like, they were scared. They were literally scared. So I'm an aunt. Like, I am going to stop at nothing to protect my nieces, my nephews, my children. Patricia's aunts were the same way. Like, they immediately let Patricia know, like, listen, Amina and Sarah have said, like, Yasser's been touching them, fondling them. Amina basically said that her father penetrated her. So, like, I can't even imagine. And Patricia, being the young mom, probably inexperienced and scared herself, she, at this point, did the right thing. She took Amina and Sarah to the hospital, and they were interviewed, they were examined. Child Protective Services and the police were both involved. The report basically indicated that Yasser penetrated Amina. There were multiple instances of inappropriate touching and fondling. Sarah was also interviewed and examined, stating like she was fondled on multiple occasions. And like all this is recorded, all this is documented. So it was just the girls that were impacted. That doesn't end there, okay? They're 8 and 9 at this time, and they're making these reports. Nothing.
And that's a lot for an 8 and a 9-year-old to make up. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be, I think, some truth to it if they're able to, explicitly say these things.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I feel like too, Patricia's family, like her sisters, like there was rumor that like they coerced the girls into like making up the story or whatever. I can't get my 11-year-old son to tell a lie. You can't just try and get someone to say something that didn't happen, especially a child. It was true. They were not making false claims. These were not lies that they were telling. They weren't trying to just get away from their dad. They were scared. Like, this really happened. After they're interviewed and everything, you would have hoped that the system like prevailed and that they would have arrested their father, that he would have been charged and even convicted. But that's not what happened. Instead, Patricia, she leaves with her kids, and she goes and stays with her family. So she does get away for a little bit, and, that's good. But Yasser, he gets arrested, right? Not for abusing the girl. He gets arrested for retaliation. So because Patricia left with his children, he was freaking out. He was like, where are my kids? I want you guys back. And he basically was just harassing her, calling her constantly, calling her family constantly, practically begging her to come back with their kids. Over time, like beating a dead horse, Patricia caved. She was like, I can't take this anymore. And then two, she didn't want to really like return to her family situation of like living with her sisters or living with her mom and dad and still being exposed to the abuse there or the poor living situation. So she was just like, look, I'm just going to take a chance and go back to the psycho and subject my children to even more abuse. I wouldn't doubt that, some abuse probably continued between this incident here, which nothing happened. Literally, it's recorded and it's documented that it happened, but like no action was taken. Yasser got out of jail. He bonded out for like $500 and they carried on with their lives. No follow-up or anything like that was done. Between 1998 and I'd say 2008, there were like a bunch of home videos that were made by Yasser. Like he was recording his family and his daughters. And it was very, very, very clear that perversion that his daughters had reported when they were 8 and 9 years old was still continuing, was still consistent. He would literally, in these home videos, zoom in on his children, on his daughters' body parts, boobs, butt, legs, just completely perverted. He would even have their brother join in on terrorizing them. There's already like sibling rivalry or you're like fighting with your brother, fighting with your sister, but like to have your son join antagonizing your daughters and terrorizing them sexually. It's just like, I can't imagine. I can't. Like, it's disgusting.
It is disgusting. And like, it's like, let's mess up all the kids,
So from watching those videos, it really tells enough of the story that like, there's no explanation necessary. He was a sexual predator without a doubt. So nothing literally came about of the abuse that happened when the girls were 8 and 9 years old. So I wouldn't doubt that like some abuse continued between like when that was reported in 1998 all the way to 2008. From the Price of Honor documentary, basically he was a sexual deviant. And literally these videos, they tell enough of the story where like, there's no explanation needed. There's no question, no doubt that this guy was a sicko. It was just sickening, just absolutely sickening. And he didn't just have like home videos. Like it wasn't just him recording them at home. He would literally follow them. He would record them when they would be at work and not by himself. So Patricia was a participant in that as well. She would like go on runs with him to watch Amina, like while she's working at the convenience store. And he would be recording her and like basically commenting on like, why is she being nice to that customer? Why is she looking at that customer like that? It's like a major invasion of privacy, a major invasion of just a common decency, right?
And it's just so controlling. It's such a power move.
And they knew it. It's not like Yasser was doing this secretly. Like he made it very apparent to the girls that He knew where they were at all times. He knew everything. They had no secrets. They had no privacy. It was control. It was, literally every form of abuse that you could think of. He was basically doing to these girls. And they were children. They were literally young girls trying to just lead normal lives. And this deep-rooted, sick man was just terrorizing them, abusing them day upon day. So just thinking, like, knowing that my dad is recording me while I'm at work, I don't know, like, how do you go on? He literally instilled fear in them, and that was his objective. Like, he wanted to scare them into thinking that they could have absolutely no privacy. And Amina and Sarah both knew it. When Amina and Sarah started, like, getting to their teenage years, they then began to realize that now things are going to change even more, because now their psycho dad was going to subject them to, like, these traditional Egyptian arranged marriages. Add that to the list of another fear for a young girl to be faced with, 13, 14 years old, and to fear that your father's going to marry you off to an older man that doesn't have the same values or moral code as you. And, they were told by their father, listen, you guys are not allowed to date American men. When you get married, it's going to be an arranged marriage. Basically, I'm going to choose your husband for you. And it wasn't just him making these statements. He literally inquired about bride prices in Egypt. In their presence, let it be known that he was preparing them for marriage at 14 and 15 years old, initiating conversations with grown men that have no business marrying 14 and 15-year-old girls. And he let Amina and Sarah know what the plans were. So as if teenage pressures aren't already enough, to be fearful that you could be swept away to Egypt at any point and never be seen or heard from again is just unimaginable. He took Amina and Sarah to Egypt and actually introduced them to potential husbands. And so they knew that these were not threats. Their father was not just talking shit. This was their reality.
That's so terrifying. I think just the idea of, being forced to get married to someone is obviously that's scary too, but like being sent to Egypt, I mean, you didn't grow up in Egypt. You didn't live in Egypt. It's just another layer of terror and another layer of control.
Yeah. As if, like, Yasser's control, perversion, fear tactics, obsession with his daughters wasn't scary enough for Amina and Sarah. He also had a horrible, horrible temper. And that just escalated as Amina and Sarah got older. So for reference, I just want to speak to this. It's noted that Yasser is already a murderer at this time. So
wait, what do you mean he's a murderer at this time?
Yeah, crazy, right? When he was in Egypt, apparently he committed murder there. He apparently got into an altercation with one of his coworkers, and he ran the dude over with his car multiple times. He killed them. This person died. But somehow this guy managed to get out of jail. And apparently maybe his family had money or connections. I don't know how the legal system works in Egypt. I'm not the expert there, but I mean, he got away with murder. And this wasn't a secret. Like, everybody knew it. His kids knew it. Patricia knew it. Patricia's family. Like, this was not a secret. They knew what he was capable of. And imagine being him. Like, imagine, like, feeling like, what can I not? I ran a guy over because he pissed me off. Like, you would feel like you could get away with anything. Yeah. But I mean, like, we work regular 9-to-5 jobs, right? And coworkers, sure, they've upset me before, but, like, I'm going to be honest, like, I've never been mad enough to want to kill them. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can
no
you
comment?
I mean, but still, like, seriously.
No, that is next level. Like, there's never been anybody where I was like, I'll see you in the parking lot.
Right. I'm going to run your ass over. Like, what?
Not once, but
right?
twice.
Yeah. Like, that's my intent. I'm going to kill you. So, I mean, I think the girls also having that knowledge of their father actually committing a heinous crime like that, they're like, this dude is not playing around. Like, he's for real. He means what he says. So they knew that he murdered someone. And they're like, everything that he has said about, I know where you're going. I know your every move. I know, everybody on your phone, everybody that you talk to, they believed him. Think about being in high school, right? Think about you're forming friendships and you're building relationships, and they had to literally pretend like life on the home front is normal. Everything is fine over here. I don't want to draw any attention. I don't want to, get anybody else pulled in or sucked into this family psychopathic. Both of my parents are crazy. And then you're still trying to be a regular teenager. I don't know how they made it through that. I really don't. These girls, they couldn't even lead normal lives as teenagers. They couldn't have friends, real friends that come over to your house and have sleepovers or go to their house. They couldn't have boyfriends, right? I'm sure they were involved in recreational activities because that's actually how one of the girls met their boyfriend. But their father was trying to control everything. At this point, the girls are 15, 16. Amina is showing interest in wanting to take this taekwondo class. So she signs up. Her mom and dad, I guess, are on board with it. She meets a boy, right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So this young man named Joseph, she meets a taekwondo class, and, they seem like they had an immediate connection and a friendship literally that evolved into teenage love. You know how it is,
Oh, it's her first love. He's going to save her, right?
Oh,
Tell me he's going to save her.
I wish. I mean, I'm sure that was his hope. As we know, that's not how the story ends. So I feel my heart really does go out to Joseph and Eric, who is Sarah's boyfriend. That's who she had a relationship with. But these are things that kids should be able to experience. That teenage love and just, forming relationships. It's a natural thing that unfortunately their father was not going to tolerate. So these boys, Joseph and Eric, Sarah and Amina's boyfriends, they were not Egyptian. Okay. They were American boys, and Yasser absolutely did not approve.
Well, also, he's not getting any money or control or, out of the situation with them. Yeah. He gets nothing out of them dating.
Oh, yeah. There's no gain for Yasser here. So there's a problem there. Amina and Sarah, they were terrified. They did not want Eric or Joseph to literally be impacted by their dad. They knew the power that their dad had. And although they wanted to proceed in these relationships, they were in fear of what their father would do. So they came up with code words when they would be texting or talking to give them a cue, hey, my dad's listening. Or if my dad texts, if you get a text and you don't get this code word, don't respond because it's not me, it's my dad. It's next level when you have to do shit like that. And I mean, I had a controlling dad, but never was it that bad. Never was it that bad.
I'm surprised Joseph wasn't Josephina in her phone. I
mean, I'm sure that, she had him saved, as something else. And then too, it's the early 2000 or mid 2000s. So just think track phones.
Oh yeah. Okay. So we're not even talking about iPhones. This didn't say Joseph with 3 heart emojis. Got it.
No, this is totally old school. So, but that just shows you or shines light on how fucking in fear these girls were of their dad and what their dad could possibly do to these guys.
That's commitment, but they probably thought my dad could kill my boyfriend if he finds out. I mean, that's honestly probably a real fear for them.
It's said that Amina and Sarah both confided in Joseph and Eric and told them, hey, my dad is abusive. He's psycho. He's hit me. He's sexually abused me. He's abused my mom. They knew. And I'm sure all that they wanted, just think that teenage love now, that deep, hardcore teenage love, all I'm sure they wanted to do was whisk both Amina and Sarah away from that treachery. They that's probably their only wish, was to rescue them from that hell. Yasser eventually came to the realization that his daughters were dating these American boys, and he lost his shit. He beat Amina, okay? And not like a whooping, like, you know, we all have had. He beat her so bad, he kicked her in the face, and her braces, like, went through her lip.
Oh, my God.
Right?
I'm just trying to think of how much force that would have to be. I've never been hit that hard.
Dude, imagine getting kicked with a boot in the face.
And your dad, yeah.
Like he went bananas. He went ballistic. He could not handle not being able to have power over them and their decision to see these boys. And, you know, just like anything else, like, even if, you know, you're dating, you're a teenager, and your parents, they don't want you to see a certain person, it literally just makes you want to see that person more, right? So I'm sure like that just increased or intensified the desire to want to see these other boys. But he didn't stop there. So he beat Amina, right? And when that didn't work, like he's still recognizing they're still communicating with these boys. He literally picked them up in the middle of the night and moved them from one city to another. So like you're in school, you have your friends, and then all of a sudden your dad's like, yo, pack it up, wrap it up. We're moving. I'm done with these boys, and you guys trying to see these boys. Let's go. I mean,
so the new town had no boys, or
I mean, I'm thinking his logic behind that is like, oh, I'm just gonna take them away. Like, where they?
I'm gonna isolate them. And that's what he wanted. I'm gonna isolate them.
He's thinking distance is gonna prevent them from communicating. But I mean, come on, it didn't work.
Well, communicating, but like, I don't know, at that age, like 2 towns over would seem impossible. I'd be like, oh, now we can't be in love anymore. And that's 2 towns over. How would I see you?
Yeah, but you have a phone, you know, you've got a phone, you're, you know, and you still go to Taekwondo, right? Like, so you're still maybe going to see him at Taekwondo, or you still.
I'm shocked they're still letting her do Taekwondo.
Yeah, I mean, she was, I think at that point, just using any means necessary to try and communicate with Joseph. Because
or anyone.
Exactly. She was letting the instructor at the Taekwondo place know, like, hey, like, I'm safe. I know that nobody knows where I'm at, and I just kind of vamped out or ghosted out, but like, I'm safe. Let Joseph know, you know, I love him and all this other stuff. So she's still trying to deliver these messages. So
it's also really sad that no one's stepping in. Like, if you're having to like practically slip notes to your Taekwondo instructor to let them know you're safe, like,
it's real talk. I mean, Patricia needs her own freaking episode. I'll just say that because
I didn't even think of the mom. Yeah, of course the mom.
We'll get there. Trust me, it's coming. I mean, it's sad, and I'm one that if I see something wrong, I'm going to say something. Like, I'm going to be like, are you cool? Are you cool? I'm going to pay attention to my surroundings. But like, I think that the system failed back in 1997 or whenever the original reports were made. And then their mother failed them. I can't say that their aunts failed them because they really did try, or their grandparents, they really did try. But it's like, if their mother is basically who's in control, what can you do? You know, and this is their father. This is not just some random guy that their mom is dating. This is their father. Even after moving them to another town, thinking that that was going to solve all the problems, it didn't. Yasser's rage just escalated higher and higher, and he took it further. He threatened to kill Amina. I'm going to kill you because you're dating an American boy and you're 17 years old. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill my own child because you're disobeying me.
Well, and there's got to be in like his head sort of a time crunch too, because she really is becoming an adult. And the older she gets, the harder it's going to be to control her. She's going to start to have these options where she really can leave. And, you know, in his head, that's probably the worst thing, is not being able to control these 2 girls.
Yeah. Well, this threat on Amina's life was a red flag for Patricia. I mean, she ignored all the million other red flags But this one was like, okay, you've gone too far. So she decides, look, this is not cool. She obviously had some real fear that Yasser's threats were real. Patricia, their mother, she had to have sensed something because that it was a trigger. She's like, oh my God, he said he's going to kill her. He's killed somebody before. I got to get these kids out of here. She knew that he was not just talking out of his ass. He meant what he said. On December the 26th of 2007, Patricia decides to leave their mother. Their mother, Patricia, decides to leave with Amina and Sarah. And she also brings one of Sarah's friends, Eric, and Amina's friends, Eddie. And they were like, we're out. All right. Patricia's had enough. She's in fear for her daughter's life. So they decided to head to Kansas. Okay. Because this is where her family is. They even like give Patricia's family a heads up saying, hey, I'm done. I'm leaving Yasser. I'm starting a new life. I'm starting over. They went as far as renting an apartment under an alias. They got rid of like their cell phones. They got like burner phones or whatever so that Yasser couldn't trace them. I'm thinking in my mind as I'm watching this, like, yes, they did it. Like they're escaping this nightmare, this psycho. But nope. So now we're going to talk about Patricia because all the research and all the information that I found about Patricia, it really, really got under my skin. First, why is all this happening? What was Patricia's role, right? Like, I understand that she was a minor herself when she married Yasser and like their lives were intertwined. But Patricia is an example of someone that I think was manipulated, controlled, completely misguided. Knowing all of that, I still don't understand how at some point she couldn't see that, like witnessing what her daughters were experiencing, that, you know, if I'm watching this, their home videos and stuff like that, like I was so uncomfortable. And if she was present for that, there's no way that she could not have seen that there was something wrong. I don't understand her thought process behind it. Like, was he brainwashing her? Had he psychologically abused her to the point where like she just was not there? Like, it's hard for me to even think to defend her because it bothered me. It bothered me.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible, and I definitely can't understand it. But I do think, I mean, he was conditioning her from the time she was 14. And also, it's not like it sounds like she came from this perfect upbringing, you know? It's like if you go from abuse to another form of abuse, again, not to defend her, I mean, like it's your daughters, that's your duty to take care of them. But I mean, at some point, like, do you know anything else? Like,
right. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Like that she just didn't, like even from like listening to interviews and stuff with her, I was like, she just doesn't sound all there. Like she just sounded like the child herself still as an adult speaking after her daughters had been murdered. It was like, are you serious? Knowing that he abused her, right? Because we know that she stated that. She made that very clear. She said, Yasser abused her. He beat her. He sexually abused her. She felt like she was living in fear. But in other situations and other interviews, she would literally say the complete opposite. Her phone records during this time when they're like in Kansas and running away to start a new life, her phone records indicated that she was communicating with Yasser the entire time. I feel like she really played a role, and she does have some accountability for what happened, what the overall end was. Their brother, Islam, he's at this point like freaking out. Like, my mom is gone. My sisters have gone. Where did they go? Are they coming back? He tells his dad, like, yo, mom and Amina and Sarah, they're gone. Like, they left. And now Yasser is freaking out. They go to the police. They file a police report. They report them missing. And surprisingly, the police were actually able to get a hold of Patricia, right? And Patricia tells the police, hey, I left at my own free will. I'm safe. I'm with my daughters. I'm afraid of Yasser. She tells the police that she's afraid of Yasser due to like threats that he had made. So she has told the police this. She has said all of this. What do you think Patricia did?
I'm sure she went back. Is that what you're... And don't tell me, she brought the girls with her?
Yeah, she did. She did. She decided to return to Texas and go back to this psycho only a few days later because she couldn't bear to be away from her son. And Yasser said he was going to change and that she could come back to the house and that, you know, he wasn't going to be there. He even had his brothers coerce her and like plead with her, like, hey, please, Yasser's so sorry for what he said. Please come back and work things out. You know, don't let your family fall apart. And Patricia fell for it. I mean, it was we'll just state, it was a terrible choice for her to return back to Texas with her daughters. And I'm pretty sure it's something that she thinks about every single day. They headed back to Texas, but Patricia failed to tell the girls why. And she also failed to tell them where they were going. Yeah, we're going back to Texas, but we're also going back to your dad. So they thought they were just going back to Texas, right? Like to drop one of the other people that were with them off. No, Patricia, she left all of that out. She didn't say, hey, I'm going back to your dad. You guys are coming too. And I think once they got to Texas and Patricia finally spilled the beans, Sarah wasn't the more outspoken one. Amina, she was more so the outspoken one. Amina, she was like, hell no. You know, I am not going back there. Like you can't put me in a predicament like that. But telling their parent, their mother, that they're not going to do something. One, like you don't have the means to live on your own. Like you're going to just do what your mom says because she's your mom, right? Regardless of how
it's not even so much that it's like her mom. It's just, you feel like where else do you have to go? I mean, you can go to a friend's house, you can go to your boyfriend's house or whatever, maybe. But I mean, your time there runs out. Like where, you know, they want you gone and you don't have the means to rent your own apartment in Kansas. Like I'm sure she just felt like she had nowhere else to go and she was going to have to face this one way or another.
Amina, she really was like headstrong. And she told her mom, like, look, I understand that you're going to go back, but I'm not going back right now. So her mom allowed her, gave her the green light to like go and stay at her friend's house that first night back. But Sarah goes back home with Patricia. Patricia then proceeds to call Amina the next day and is like, listen, your dad's cooled down. You got to come home. Like, I know I said you could stay at your friend's house. You did. But now it's time to come home. It's January the 1st of 2008. Patricia tells Amina, come home. I'm coming to get you. Even though Amina doesn't want to, and Joseph has begged her not to return. Anybody that knows what's really going on has said this is not a good idea. But what are your choices?
Her sister's there too. I'm sure that was sort of a factor. I mean,
absolutely. It definitely had to have been a factor. Thinking, well, I don't want to like leave Sarah to experience whatever hell dad is in, you know, throwing her way because we've left. So she was probably torn, but like, she was like, well, what can I do? Like, I'm just going to go back home. So she does. She goes home. Yasser tells Patricia he wants to take Amina and Sarah to dinner because he wants to talk to them. He's cooled down and he wants to really talk things out with them, right? But remember, all of those threats that Yasser made against Amina and Sarah, which was the whole point why Patricia left in the first place, Patricia admitted that she was terrified of Yasser, that he was afraid that he was going to harm her and her daughters. She told the police that. She witnessed Yasser beat Amina and Sarah when they were talking to these boys. So like she, knowing all of that, she still said, okay, your dad wants to take you guys out. He wants to talk to you. That part I don't understand. That something's not registering there. Like this man literally just said a couple of days earlier that he was going to kill your daughter. And now you're going to like let him go and be somewhere alone with them. So they get in the car with their father. Their father proceeds to drive them. He drives them to the Omni Mandalay Hotel. He proceeds to shoot Amina 9 times. And he shot Sarah twice. And then this man completely disappears, vanishes. As the girls are in the car with their father, and he's shot one of them or shot both of them. Sarah, she manages to call 911. This 911 call is horrifying. On this 911 call, Sarah clearly states that she is dying, okay? She's crying hysterically. She clearly states who the villain is at this point, that her father has shot her. The 911 call is just so disturbing because if you listen to true crime or like listen to 911 calls or anything like that, you guys, I mean, you know, 911 dispatchers, they need more training. They need some help in that department on how to handle situations like that. And I'm not an expert, but it was not handled appropriately. That call that Sarah made, the line was actually left open for 42 minutes. Within all of that time, so this young girl has identified, my father has shot me, I'm dying, help me. 42 minutes have gone by. Authorities have no idea where Sarah and Amina are. Shockingly, they were found by a bystander, sees them in the car, slumped over, and they call 911. And that's actually how the police find these girls. Yasser, right? Where did this fool go? I don't know, right? How do you get in a car? Not even a car, like he's in a cab. He's a cab driver. He's in this cab, shoots his daughters, and then he just disappears. I don't know how someone can do that, but I do know that someone had to have helped this man. He's a coward because he did this and then just vanished, right? He didn't want to face any type of consequences or deal with the repercussions of what he did to his own daughters. And then we know that he was assisted in going into hiding. So all I was thinking at this time is this dude's day is coming. Like they're going to find this piece of crap and he's going down.
Well, he's obviously getting help, or he was had it very well planned out. I mean, both are scary, both are horrible, but either way he knew what he was doing, I think, when he put them in that car.
It was 100% premeditated. There were recordings of Amina having written in her journal that her father was whispering that they'll be gone soon. There were very clear signs that this was premeditation. He planned it out. How well he planned it out, I don't know, because it was still messy, right? But he got away. And that for me was the hard pill to swallow, is that who helped you? Who in their right mind or with any type of moral compass could help you knowing that you had just killed your daughters? Like there's no question that you did it, but you had somebody help you. So my feeling is the accomplices that helped him escape, they are just as responsible for these girls' deaths. I had actually watched videos of the funeral of Amina and Sarah, horrifying. And it was just sickening to see two young girls in a casket, literally looking like they were asleep and they're gone. Their lives were just cut short. At the funeral, their brother, Islam, he actually confronted Joseph, which was Amina's boyfriend. And he was basically saying, "What are you doing here?" and blaming him for his sister's death. This is your fault. You caused this. This is your fault. Can you imagine the pressure of losing your first love? Because I believe that Amina was Joseph's first love, but having your first love's family blame you for their death. Islam was definitely brainwashed and just as disoriented as Patricia was, without a doubt.
I think it'd be easier to blame the American guy than your dad too,
But something has to be off in your mind. Your sister's 911 call states clearly that your father has done something horrible.
I'm not saying that he doesn't believe that his father shot them, but
he didn't though. He didn't.
He really didn't believe.
Really didn't believe it. I mean,
that's crazy. Yeah, I thought it was more of a you're the one who caused my father to do this.
So these girls are gone. Their brother is actually, he's a little bit older than them. So after their death, Yasser's family actually whisked him away to Egypt. They were like, no, we're going to take him. He's going to be with our family. Patricia is actually left to live with these life-changing decisions of allowing her daughters to go and be with their father after he threatened to kill them. And I'm sure she's wishing she could have reversed that decision. Joseph and Eric, their boyfriends, are left to deal with depression, of losing their first loves, and what they claim to be true loves. And I'm sure many others grieve the loss of these girls, probably to this day. Yasser. Where is Yasser? Yasser's son, Islam, he actually returned to the United States at some point and settled back in Texas. So he, I guess, said, Egypt's not for me. I'm going back to Texas. And it just so happens in 2017, the apartment where Islam was staying one of the maintenance workers reported seeing someone that resembled Yasser. And so it was investigated. The property was actually searched. And even though Islam was not really, I guess, cooperating with the police or the FBI or anything like that, they did actually find DNA that indicated Yasser was physically there. So he again managed to get away and hide like a coward. And so at this point, he's been on the FBI's 10 most wanted list for 12 years, right? They've been looking for this guy apparently high and low. I really can't say that I believe that, but whatever. But because of that previous incident in 2017 of the maintenance worker seeing him, I guess Islam got freaked out and tried to flee the next day and go to Canada. So that again raised some red flags to the FBI and the police or whatever. And they're like, yo, something's fishy about this. So on August the 26th of 2020, they finally apprehended this fucker. And guess what? Who do you think was concealing him?
Oh, it wasn't his son though, right? Is that way?
Well, it was his son. And it was a whole bunch of other people in his family. His family was concealing him. Amina and Sarah's uncles, aunts, cousins, all of her family members on her father's side literally were concealing the man that killed their niece. These are your family members. Your own flesh and blood were basically hiding this man. He was hiding out in plain sight. This dude hid for 12 years. I don't know where he was at the entire 12 years, but they literally found him not far where he actually killed his daughters.
So do they think he just stayed in the area the whole time?
I mean, I'm sure after he was apprehended, they probably investigated further to see or get a timeline of where he was. Whether or not he was honest and forthcoming with that information, I don't know. But to be in Texas, in the same state where you committed the murder, I really think he was hiding in plain sight. I think maybe he just wasn't out in the open, leaving the house. But just imagine being cooped up in a house for 12 years. You're going to want out, you're going to want to go outside at some point, whether it's nighttime or whatever. And, folks are watching your family because you're a murderer, but they literally found him not far from where he actually killed his daughters. To me, that was just so unsettling because Patricia still had ties with their family. She still had a relationship with their family. So it's well, did she know all these years? Did she help hide him? Because it's reported too that Patricia actually had a conversation, or her phone records indicated that she called Yasser's phone after the girls were murdered. Hiding out in plain sight for 12 years, found not far from where his daughters were murdered, and all of his family members were basically helping this guy out. So the aftermath, all these people are literally terrorized. All right, he terrorized Amina and Sarah, and basically his son too. Their lives are over with. Patricia's life is over with. All of her children are now basically gone. Islam ended up getting, after they captured Yasser, his son pled guilty for concealing a person from arrest. He got 10 years. And then Yasser's brother, I think, Yassine, was also arrested for his association with concealing and harboring, a fugitive, and he got 12 years. These girls are gone. They've been gone for 12 years. He killed them that long ago. And all these two get is 10 years and 12 years. There's something not right with it. It does not sit well with me. For hiding a murderer for 12 years, you're literally risking everything for the sake of an individual who knowingly killed his own daughters.
Yeah, I have seen so many cases where in that situation, those people were just let go or got like a slap on the wrist, like here's 2 or 3 years. So I totally get what you're saying, but like at least they got, 10 and 12 years.
Yeah. Yasser literally destroyed a whole family tree is what is frustrating to me. Like, I don't know how long he's getting. I think I don't know if they've fully sentenced him yet, but your entire family tree is demolished.
Yeah.
So I'll close with that. I recently moved here to Texas, and I don't live far from where these events happen. So like I've driven past the Omni Mandalay Hotel, and it really makes it more real when you go and you visit a site where something horrific has happened, or like, the whole story or the backstory. And it's like, that's so messed up. It's also made me realize like things like this happen. You have to pay attention to your kids' friends, your neighbors. You have to pay attention to your surroundings because things could be happening right under your nose. If you don't pay attention to your surroundings, things like this can happen. Messed up story.
Thanks for sharing. I mean, I definitely heard parts of, I didn't know all of these details. I don't think it's as big of a case, especially if you're not in Texas, maybe. So, it's so sad. I'm glad that you're able to really shed some light on all of the details.
That brings it to a close for us tonight. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add, Ashley? What did you think?
No, I don't want to say it was great because that doesn't seem like the right emotion after that horrible story. But I'm glad there's at least some closure and that, that people are in jail, but maybe not everybody who should be in jail.
Yeah, no, totally. I think no matter what, not all parties that participated are being reprimanded. And I mean, it is what it is, but that's our judicial system. That's the law. That's, just how things work. And it's sad, but I want to thank you guys for listening. And if you want more information on this case, please check out the movie, The Price of Honor on Amazon Prime. Please leave Ashley and I a rating and let us know how we did. And thank you so much for listening to 1,000 Miles of True Crime.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Kristin, for sharing. And please tell a friend if you enjoyed us. We are new, so if you liked it, we're only going to get better.